The resource we have chosen for this assignment is the story known as The Bear Who Stole the Chinook by Frances Fraser. This is a Blackfoot tale, now referred to as Siksika, that took place years ago during an early winter season. A young orphan boy and his only friends, the forest animals, Apese, the coyote, Sepetsu, the owl and his family, Mamiya Sikami, the magpie, and Apau, the weasel, come to help him search for the warm winds known as the Chinook. After numerous efforts by the group of friends, they manage to release the Chinook from the bear's keep. Even through cold and bitter winters, the warm Chinook winds come and bring happiness to the Blackfoot peoples.
Frances Fraser was born in Alberta on a farm next to a Siksika reservation. In her childhood, the family was relocated to the reservation for work, and Fraser spent most of her youth then growing up and playing with the indigenous peoples. Endlessly fascinated by the stories told by the elders, she gained their confidence and was asked to document the stories so that they would be preserved. While Fraser may not have any formal qualifications in the realm of indigenous studies, her life experience, work as a journalist, and the trust she gained from the Siksika people qualifies her to retell the stories she grew up with.
Is the resource recognized by the Aboriginal community? With regards to Aboriginal recognition, the stories told by Fraser were told directly to her by Siksika elders throughout her life and, according to her, recorded in text at their request. Her work has been given recognition by Hugh A. Dempsey and Mary Egremont-Molinar. Egremont-Molinar has spent a considerable amount of time researching authors and scholars who dedicated themselves to FNMI studies. Dempsey is currently the Chief Curator Emeritus of the Glenbow Museum. He has authored many books, mostly focused on the history of the Blackfoot Confederacy, and for his work was made an Honorary Chief of the Kainai Nation, awarded an honorary doctorate from the University of Calgary, and awarded membership in the Order of Canada, among other accolades. While he may not be of FNMI lineage himself, his access to the Blackfoot Nation through marriage and his time spent studying the First Nations people of Alberta adds weight to his endorsement of the retellings of Frances. As previously mentioned, the life experience of Frances and her work in journalism qualifies her to offer an unbiased retelling of the stories she was so often told. With that in mind, it should come as no surprise that the story itself and its many contemporary adaptations have been used in schools across Calgary and even at the Calgary Zoo as an educational resource.
Is the resource culturally authentic? That the stories have been modified only to let the reader know they are about Siksika people shows that they are as authentic as possible in their translation and retelling. The use of Siksika language within the stories also adds an element of authenticity to them. With this in mind, the stories certainly portray Aboriginal worldviews, culture, traditions, values, beliefs, and the way of life in the past accurately. The only point that is missing may be diversity within the Aboriginal group, but given this is a text strictly of the Blackfoot Nation, that is to be expected.
Is the resource historically accurate? This segment is largely inapplicable to the story. While it is accurate from the perspective of the story being told correctly, there is no mention of important documents or decisions regarding treaties.
Is the resource balanced and objective? The resource is certainly objective. It is as close to a retelling as possible, with the only modifications made to allow non-Indigenous people to know the stories are about the Indigenous peoples. Since they are strictly retellings from the perspective of the Siksika peoples, though, there is no balancing Western worldview presented.
Are the language and terminology accurate and respectful? Unfortunately, some of the language may not translate well into contemporary society. The use of the word Indian may have been commonplace at the time of the original publication, but that is something that would need to be modified or addressed when telling the story. Other than that, the story has no other obviously offensive language or imagery.
Are the graphics culturally accurate and/or respectful? All graphics depicted within the text are accurately portrayed, appropriate to the situation in the story, and there is no evidence to suggest something sacred that is not meant to be seen is being depicted in any way. Is the resource based on information from recognized sources? As previously mentioned, Frances and her stories have been recognized as being authentic and objective in their presentation of Siksika culture and stories. The only other contributor is the artist, and there is no evidence to suggest he was chosen for any specific reason.
Overall, we believe the story of The Bear Who Stole the Chinook by Frances Fraser is a valuable resource to implement for FNMI learning within a variety of elementary classroom settings.